There we go. Got there in the end. Welcome back, everyone. My name is Tom. I'm the Junior Community and Social Media Manager. And joining me today is Anatoly.
Yeah, Anatoly.
Get that right?
Yes.
Cool. And he's going to be talking about the production pipeline of a one dev studio. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Tom. So I'll talk about production pipeline of a one developer studio with 50 million plus downloads. Hello, everyone, and thank you to Indie Game Business for the opportunity to speak today. I run a small game studio called X2Line, and I've been doing this full-time for more than 15 years. X2Line is best known for our Baby Adopter franchise. It is a series of role-playing games where players take care of a virtual child. We also have other role-playing games and puzzle games, including those in the Match-3, Mahjong, and Nonogram genres. I'll talk about how I run production and my pipeline as a one-developer studio across multiple platforms. Before that, I want to explain what the 50 million in the title really means. The 50 million in the title is a rounded number. It is rounded both up and down. If I add everything I've done on all platforms over time, the raw number is higher. On Orkut, for example, my main game Baby Adopter was in the top 5 games for more than 2 years and had about 70 million installs on that platform alone. Orkut was the main social network in Brazil years ago. It was developed as a side project by a Google employee at the time. I also had many millions of users on MySpace. Those platforms no longer exist, but they were a big part of my history. On current platforms, I still have tens of millions of users. On Android, I am over 6 million installs total across my games, with 3 titles above 1 million each and 1 title above 3 million. On Apple devices, Mac and mobile, the number is similar. On Facebook Canvas, I've had more than 18 million players over time. So 50 million is just a simple way to say I've shipped a number of games to tens of millions of players across many platforms over many years. A few words about how I work now. I'm an independent game developer and the founder of X2Line, and I've been running the studio full-time for many years. On the development side, I'm the only full-time developer. I write the code, do platform work, and handle releases and planning. On the art side, I work with 1 or 2 graphic artists. It depends on the game. We've been working together for many years. The artists focus on 2D art and some of the assets that will later end up as 3D. So the pipeline is basically 1 developer plus 2 artists I work with continuously. My main focus is role-playing and life simulation games. The primary example is Baby Adopter. It's a babysitting game where players take care of a virtual child. The players earn points by feeding, taking care of the baby, hunting for eggs, playing puzzle minigames, and then they spend points by buying clothes, shoes, toys, and room items. I also develop puzzle games, Match-3, Nonogram Mahjong-style puzzles, and solitaire card games. These puzzle games age slowly. there will always be people who enjoy solitaire and match 3. For me, as a small studio, that's helpful because if I set up the production pipeline properly, I can keep updating the same titles and they still make sense years later. Where my games run today. My games run in several places. I have web versions and games on social networks, including Facebook Canvas. On Apple, I ship to Mac, mobile, and Apple Watch. My focus on Apple is gradually shifting more toward more Mac OS and going forward Vision Pro and Apple TV. On Android, I support smart TVs and mobile. TV uses the same codebase as mobile with adjustments for input and screen. Right now, I also develop VR versions running on Meta Quest headsets via Horizon OS. As for Steam, I think Steam's audience doesn't naturally fit my primary titles. It may fit some of my puzzle games, but I haven't gone there yet. Over time, I've moved through several generations of platforms. I started on social networks, Facebook, Orkut, and MySpace. Orkut and MySpace are gone now, but they brought many millions of players. Facebook Canvas is still active for some of my games. Today, the main platforms for me are web, Apple, and Android. I also develop for Meta Quest with one title already in an advanced testing stage. I've also started working on Roblox and Meta Horizon Worlds as new environments for my IP. This year, my games have been shifting more into 3D, and that shift directly changes how I plan production and handle assets. I've been running some of my games for many years and across several platforms, and I'm the only developer. Because of that, I have to be realistic about how much I can maintain over time. Where I have a choice, I avoid tying the core of my workflow to third-party tools or services. If I can build something in a way I understand fully and can adjust myself, I prefer that approach. My main title on Apple is a good example. It's called Baby Adopter. Over the years, I've submitted more than 300 updates for it through App Store review. Working on the same game for that long means that when I plan a feature, I think not only about adding it now, but also about how hard it will be to keep it working and adjust it in future updates. I don't use Unity or Unreal. I'm fluent in web development, Android and macOS, iOS, and I learned these platforms before engines became the default choice for many developers. Even if you use an engine like Unity, you still have to write platform-specific code for things like in-app purchases, leaderboards, achievements, and social features. On top of that, every platform has its own rules and policies. Sometimes a feature that is fine on one platform is not allowed on another, or it has to work in a different way there. One thing that is easy to miss is that engines like Unity do not really export to everything. For example, you can't take a Unity project and just click a button to export it to Roblox. Roblox uses its own engine, Roblox Studio, and its own scripting language. It's Lua. It's a Roblox-specific version of Lua. And games there have to be built or written for that environment. So when people say just export it to everywhere. In practice, there are hard boundaries between general-purpose engines and platforms like Roblox, where you have to build inside their own tools and runtime. Today, AI adds another angle. It's much easier to take existing native code and adapt it to a new platform, even if you don't know that platform very well. You can ask AI tools to help rewrite and translate ideas between platforms. Because of all this, in my case, staying with native development still makes sense, and large engines don't give me a clear advantage. Here's what I'll focus on today. How I move from an idea or feedback to an actual release. How I keep games running for years on multiple platforms. And how I do that as one developer working closely with two artists. This is how I handle a new feature for an existing game. It usually starts from feedback or from an idea. That can be something I see in analytics or something players tell me. Then I have a conversation with the artists if new art is needed. We talk through what is needed and why. Then they produce assets, graphic design. Then, if AI is useful, I add a generation step, using AI and scripting to prepare or transform assets. After that, I add code and integrate everything into the game. Test it on real devices, release the update, and then watch what happens in terms of usage and behavior. Based on what I see, I decide what to do next. In many cases, I prefer to make a significant update to an existing game instead of launching a new game. The decision depends on anticipated impact, possible number of new users, extended average session time, or expected retention improvement. If improving an existing title gives more value than starting from zero, I usually choose that. On the tooling and safety side, I try to keep things simple and reliable. Even as a single developer, I still use source control. Without it, every change is a bit of a gamble. If I break something today, it's hard to get back to the exact version that worked yesterday, and it's very easy to lose track on what actually changed. I use Git for code and project. Every released update has a clear commit and is tagged. Git gives me a history of commits I can move through step by step. I can see which files changed in a commit, compare old and new versions, and go back to a previous state if I introduce a bug. Tags make it easy to jump straight to the code that matches a release on the store. I also keep local backups using external drives, including Time Machine on a Mac. I also back everything up in the cloud on AWS. Code, builds, the Photoshop files from the artists, and the 3D files I create or edit myself in Blender. For web, static assets, images, and JavaScript are hosted on AWS as well. For backend services, I use a dedicated server. The dedicated server hosts my website's server-side code for games that need it and databases. With this combination, if my development machine fails or something goes wrong, I don't lose data. What are the ideal minimum requirements for version 1 of a new game? First, the game should run smoothly and not crash. Second, players need a way to save their progress and continue later. Third, I want basic analytics so I can see how many players start, how far they go, and where they usually stop. Version 1 should also include simple social features like a basic share option and platform-specific game services such as leaderboards and achievements where that makes sense. In-app purchase integration should also be part of version 1. Ads usually come later. They are more of a version 2 or even version 3 step because they need approval from the ad platform and then another review from the store platform. For version 1, I almost always try to include a basic audio tutorial. Even a short audio guide that explains the main screen, key buttons, and first actions helps players get started. It also sets me up to improve accessibility later, especially for low vision players who rely on audio. Content-wise, version 1 should have enough levels, rooms, or items so people can fully play the game for a reasonable amount of time. It doesn't need all the content I might add over the next few years, but it should feel like a complete game. Balance is also important. I look at the average session length per level, how many points players earn, and how quickly the difficulty grows. I usually start with a very easy tutorial-style level and then increase the difficulty step by step. I want some harmony between time spent, effort, and rewards so the game feels fair and not exhausting. I also try to have the text translated into the most popular languages for my audience, like Spanish, French, Portuguese, and a few others. Even if the first build doesn't support every language, covering the main ones helps a lot with reach and with players understanding the basic interface and tutorial. And also, the important part of version 1 is accessibility. Here we see a screen record of a game example, a nonogram puzzle, basic audio-video tutorial which shows and narrates what people need to do in the game.
Your goal is to fill the entire grid correctly to move on to the next level. Tap cells to mark them black or cross them out based on the hint numbers. Each new level will be more challenging. Good luck!
This clip works both as an in-game tutorial and as a preview video for the store. It shows the player going from an empty board to a completed level while the narrator explains what to do. The way I make the video. First, I do a screen recording of real gameplay on the device, up about 5 minutes, with the game sounds turned off. Then I import that screen recording into an iMovie event on the Mac. In iMovie, I add 2 audio tracks, the game music and the pre-recorded how to play narration. I lower the music volume so it stays in the background, keep the voice clear, and speed up the video so the whole thing fits into something under 30 seconds. After that, I export the result from iMovie at the best quality, then open the file in Handbrake on PC. In Handbrake, I set 30 frames per second, limit the duration to around 30 seconds, adjust the crop and scale in the Dimensions tab, and encode the final file. That compressed version is what I use both inside the game and on the store page. After version 1 has been out for a while and looks stable, I start thinking about adding more content and features. For my free games, I usually add advertising in a second or third version once the game itself feels solid. At that point, I already know how players are using it, so it's easier to place ads without breaking the experience. I then expand the content, add more levels, rooms, items, outfits for characters. It depends on the game. I also add more assets to the parts of the game where players actually spend most of their time. And polish. When I extend features, I focus on the ones players most use. I try also not to make the game depend completely on platform-specific services. It should still work if leaderboards, achievements, or other services are unavailable. Accessibility. According to the United States Census Bureau, approximately 7.5 million Americans have vision loss, and more than 1 million have blindness. This is only United States. For my games, accessibility for low vision players is important, and I try to think about it already when planning version 1. Where the platform allows it, I support screen readers like VoiceOver or TalkBack. Buttons and navigation elements have clear, meaningful labels, not just unlabeled icons, so the screen reader can describe what they do. I try to keep tap and click areas large enough and use fonts that are easy to read. In puzzle games, if players need to tell tiles or circles apart, I don't rely only on color. I add different shapes or patterns so the difference is clear, even for people who can't see colors well. Audio cues and simple audio tutorials help players understand what is happening without having to look at every detail on the screen. This is good for low vision players, but it also makes the game easier and more comfortable for everyone, which usually improves overall play statistics. Here is an example of a nonogram puzzle game with full support for screen readers. Here it is VoiceOver on a Mac. It is a practical example of how screen readers interact with my games and what low vision players hear as they move around the screen.
VoiceOver on system settings. VoiceOver window. VoiceOver. Minimize button. Column 3, row 3, filled button. Column 4, row 3, crossed out button. Column 5, row 2, crossed out button.
On the nonogram board, the player hears the status of each tile together with its coordinates. This lets a low vision player scan the board over and over and build a picture in their mind of which tiles there are filled, which are crossed out, and which are still empty.
Column 13, row 2, filled button. Column 13, row 1, crossed out button. Column 11, row 10, filled button. Column 12, row 9, empty button. 2, 1, 1, 3.
The hint numbers for each row and column are also read out. As they move along the edges, the screen reader speaks the hint patterns so they can connect what they hear on the hints with what they hear on the board.
Column 17 hints. 6, 3, 1. Column 8 hints. 1, 3, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2. Row 4 hints. Letterboards image. Share image.
Although the nonogram big board may seem big and challenging and could look like an extreme example, it's still fully playable and fully scannable with a screen reader. The starting levels are ultra easy, so this gives a player a low learning curve even if they are using audio to navigate. Buttons and navigation are also readable and reachable through the screen reader, so that low vision players can navigate. This game is fully accessible for low vision players.
Restart the level image. Show solution image. Column 19, row 5, crossed out button. Column 18, row 5, filled button. Column 17, row 5, crossed out, but column 12, row.
After version 1 is out, I decide what to do next in a simple order. First, crashes and serious bugs. Those updates go out as soon as I can reasonably fix and test them. After that, when I think about adding or changing something, I look at 3 things. Impact. Does this really change the game for players, or is it just a small cosmetic tweak? Maintainability. Can I support this feature across all platforms over time as a single developer? Scope. Is this idea better suited for a brand new game, or is it realistic to ship it as an update to an existing game? I prefer tasks that have a real impact, are maintainable, and fit the right scope. On the art side, my 2 artists focus on 2D characters, items, and backgrounds. We talk about each task in terms of vision and purpose, what it's for, where it will appear in the game, and what kind of feeling it should give. I rely on their artistic judgment more than on my own. Sometimes the result looks different from what I first imagined, but often it actually works better for the game, so I'm happy to go with their version. I also don't set deadlines for them. We agree on the work and they deliver when it's ready. On my side, I handle versioning of their work. I take the files they send, organize them, and keep track of different versions, similar to how I do it with code. For each task, we start with an online conversation. We talk through what needs to be done why it's needed, and look at any visual examples. During the conversation, I take notes, and right after we finish, I send a follow-up email with a conversation summary to everyone involved. It includes what we agreed to, what files are expected, and practical details like image sizes in pixels and file or layer names. These days, there are tools that can automatically record the call, create transcript, and even generate a summary with AI. I don't use that yet, but it's another way to get to the same goal. The key point is that there is always a clear written summary after the discussion, and that summary becomes part of the production flow. Over time, these summaries also become a record of the art side of the project. If we want, we can later collect them into a single document that shows the history of the game from the artistic perspective. Which ideas we tried, why certain characters or rooms changed, and how the visuals evolved step by step. In terms of timing, art and code don't move at the same speed. Usually my artists are at least a month ahead of me, and often more. Sometimes assets for future rooms or features are ready several months before the code that uses them. So when I get assets, I may not integrate them immediately. They go into organized folders and backups, and I plug them in when the project timeline reaches that stage. For animation, I handle it myself. I combine code and external tools to generate or apply animations. So the asset pipeline and the coding pipeline are offset in time, and the production process has to take that into account. This is my basic pipeline for moving characters from 2D to 3D. In this process, AI is not used to invent new characters or change their look. It is only used to amplify what I already have. The existing character design is taken as is and moved into 3D. First, the artist creates a clean 2D symmetric A pose of the original character. We also prepare several hand variations. 2D to 3D tools often struggle with hands, so having 3-5 clean hand versions makes the 3D generation step more reliable. Then I use AI tools to generate a 3D version of that same character from the 2D A pose. After that, I bring the models into Blender, do surface and texture fixes and often touch-ups, and export them in the formats I need. Finally, I rig and animate the characters. Here is a live example of a 3D character. We can see different animations and orbit the 3D character in all directions. A future step for me in this pipeline is doing the same for rooms and backgrounds, starting from 2D rooms and converting them into 3D spaces using a mix of AI and tools, and then cleaning them up in Blender. I also think of AI as a kind of team members responsible for helping draft community messages, or assisting with 3D variations. That's a separate talk by itself, so here I just want to show how it fits into the production pipeline as a helper. Looking ahead, I see several possible future platforms. For MetaQuest, the first version of my first game on that platform is already finished from a development point of view, but it's not launched yet. Vision Pro is Apple's mixed reality headset. Since I already have a Quest version of my game, it makes sense to look at Vision Pro as another possible target, because a lot of the 3D and interaction work I've done for Quest, it can be adapted there. Apple Vision Pro and MetaQuest are both standalone mixed reality headsets where you can play games in 3D space. You put the device on, see virtual objects in front of you, and interact with them using your hands or controllers. Vision Pro runs Vision OS, which is Apple's own operating system for this headset. Many iPhone and iPad games can run on Vision Pro if the developer allows it, so a lot of existing work from the Apple side can appear there without a full rewrite. Vision Pro also has high-end hardware and optics with very high-resolution displays and a much higher price. Quest runs Meta's Horizon OS, which is based on Android. From a developer point of view, you build and ship games there more like you would for an Android device, using Meta's SDKs and store. The resolution and hardware are more modest than Vision Pro, but the price is also much lower. So even though both devices can show similar mixed reality games, the operating systems, hardware limits, and store rules are all different. On Roblox and Horizon Worlds, I'm testing prototypes of one of my existing games. They both feel like a natural fit for my games in some ways. You start with a 3D character running around, and the basic game mechanics of moving from station to station and doing activities match how many of my games work. The open question for me on both platforms, Roblox and the Meta Horizon, is IP boundaries. The base, avatar, movement, and some of the core structure and features belong to the platform. And I need to understand clearly where my own IP starts and ends. Which parts are my own characters, rooms, items, and which parts are just configuration of their built-in systems. Roblox is a game platform and game creation system. Developers build what Roblox called experiences in Roblox Studio using the Lua scripting language, and those experiences run inside the Roblox client on PC, mobile, consoles, and headsets. Meta Horizon Worlds is a competitor, is also a 3D social and game creation environment from Meta. Creators build interactive worlds that players can join from Quest headsets, from a PC browser, or from phones through the Horizon app. From the development side, the two are quite different. Roblox has its own engine and tools in Roblox Studio with Lua as a scripting language. Horizon Worlds uses TypeScript and a more attached script to objects style where you add small TypeScript components to objects or UI elements to define how they behave. So even though the player's view can look similar, an avatar walking around in 3D, the tools, languages, and workflow are different. They are different enough that I have to treat them as a separate targets in my pipeline. All this affects how I design my pipeline now, so it can extend to these platforms later if that turns out to be the right move. Here is a MetaQuest version of one of my games, which is not published yet.
You're seeing Baby Adopter Dress Up on MetaQuest. This screen is the baby viewer, one of the main parts of the game. The baby character is fully 3D, and I can rotate or orbit the character in all directions with the controller so players can view the baby from any angle. The baby has 5 preset animations: idle, look around, walk, run, and a gym exercise.
Another part of my production approach is trying to build franchises. On the role-playing side, there is the Baby Adopter series, which consists of 5 games: Baby Adopter Holidays, Baby Adopter C, Baby Adopter Dress Up, and Baby Adopter Galaxy. On the puzzle side, there is Formula series like Planet Formula, Nonoblocks Formula, and Clue Formula. New titles in this series benefit from existing player base and from cross-promotion inside my own games. If someone already enjoys one Baby Adopter title, it's much easier to introduce them to another one in the same family. Some art can be reused or adapted, especially UI elements, items, and small decorative details. Main characters and key backgrounds are not reused. They are specific to each game and to a direct sequel. From a production point of view, having this series makes each new game a bit easier to launch than a completely unrelated one, because I'm not starting from zero every time. Scripting and automation are an important part of my production. Whenever I notice a repetitive task, converting file formats, exporting assets, renaming files, preparing bundles, I consider writing a script for it. I write the script, run it in a batch mode, and check the results. If it works, I reuse it across projects and platforms. This applies to 3D conversions, textures, audio, and even some text processing. These scripts save time, reduce errors, and make it possible to support many platforms as one developer. AI is also a good helper for this. I can describe a repetitive task in plain language and ask an AI tool to draft a script that renames files, converts formats, or prepares exports. After that, I read through the script, adjust it to my folders and file names, and once it works, I keep it as part of my regular toolset. On the release side, I separate two things. For crashes and serious bugs, I try to fix them and push an update as quickly as I can reasonably do it. For everything else, my approach has changed over time. I used to ship frequent small updates, but with many apps and platforms, that doesn't scale. Now I prefer fewer updates, but each one should have a clear, significant impact. It should add something that really moves the game forward. New content, meaningful balance changes, or major features that feel like a level up in quality. This approach keeps the workload realistic across platforms and across my whole portfolio. There are some practices that I intentionally stopped. I don't chase every new engine or tool just because it's new. I no longer try to push very frequent small updates across many apps and platforms. That pattern is not sustainable for one developer. And I avoid shipping features that don't have any visible impact for players or any realistic way to scale. If it doesn't move the game forward in some measurable way, it usually doesn't get built. Stopping these things helps keep the pipeline manageable. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to answer questions about any part of this: pipeline details, supporting multiple platforms as one developer, the 2D to 3D process with AI, scripting and automation, all my thoughts on VR, Roblox, and Horizon Worlds as possible next steps.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anatoly. So we do have a couple of questions that have come in from the chat. But firstly, I wanted to ask, how did you decide to make accessibility one of the key features of your games? Was there a particular reasoning behind it?
Yes, it started with my Apple games, and I just developed them according to Apple guidelines, and I started to I didn't had it in mind at all, like the accessibility part, but I started to get feedback from low vision players, actually blind players, like a lot of feedback.
Oh.
That and they said that my games are playable, but I need like to adjust here and there because some parts were not playable by like with screen reader. So I started to study that, and I tried to make them fully playable.
Mm.
And these users are very loyal, and they also vocal, and they continue to provide feedback. And I also noticed that while I make the game more accessible, like for low vision players, it also helps overall for all players. Like the game becomes more easy to play, to navigate overall, also for users that play normally. And it improves the statistics. So and then I started to implement it all the time. Just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And so I personally, pretty much every game I play, I use subtitles.
Yeah.
simply because I find it a lot easier to both hear the words and see them. So, having these accessibility features, it's, the fact that you consider that from the start is just amazing. So we'll move on to some of the questions from chat. So this one's from Wellham Gaming on YouTube, and they ask, how do you engage with your audience regarding game feedback? For example, tuning the mechanics for accessibility.
I usually get email. It's usually on each platform they have you have to fill in your details, for example, support email or support website. So I have both. I have a support email, and I get feedback by email, and I get I also have support website. Once I used user voice, but I moved to my own website.
Yeah.
Where I people write to me. For example, they can find a bug or something that they don't understand, and I reply to them and to get more details sometimes, or sometimes I see it right away that something is wrong.
Yeah.
And I implement that. And also, for example, for low vision for blind players, for low vision players, there are some dedicated websites where they discuss certain games that they can play, because only a small fraction of games are playable by blind players, for example.
Yeah.
And I became aware of these sites. For example, there is a website called Applevis, and I visit them sometimes, and I can subscribe to forum topics. For example, there is a topic about my game, so I subscribe, and I see what people say. For example, and sometimes there is there is some feedback there. So I sometimes I proactive there to get.
No, that's cool. So rather than just relying on, say, user reviews, it's
also of course I forgot to say that also I read reviews sometimes sometimes inside the review you can see, besides some negative or positive text, sometimes people talk about what can be improved. They provide some ideas. And so on.
Cool. So we have one relating to AI now. This is also from YouTube. It's from Stillion. Do you think it's worth going into college to get an AI degree, or by the time I graduate, the job will already be automated?
With AI is my thoughts. This area is evolving so fast. In a couple of months from now, it can change a lot. So the way we can't imagine, or 3 months from now. So it's hard to plan, because it's also improving, and it's also changing the way we work with it. So and it just happens right now, and within months it changes. From my experience, there are sometimes different tools, but sometimes the way you work with it, it's different than 3 months ago. I haven't heard about something like AI degree, but maybe it's part of a computer science that you can learn how it works. It can be useful. For example, is a part of computer science degree. I think it can be very useful because it's the edge of the technology right now.
Yeah.
And I think like the basics, the fundamentals of the AI and LLMs, it's useful to learn it like as a part of the degree because it will not change. But as a way we work with it, it evolves. Something will be in terms of jobs, and some jobs will be replaced by AI, but not all of them. I think many will be helped by AI. Many real jobs, they will be amplified by AI, and like will raise to another level maybe. Some will be replaced. So you need to see. It's hard to anticipate what will be like in 5 years or 3 years, but I think it's worth to learn it as a part of a degree, like this field. Like for example, a part of computer science degree. I don't think it will change. Like the fundamentals will not change, but the way we work with it, it is changing. Like it's changing
Yeah.
right now, so it's hard to predict.
Yeah, as before I got into community management, I worked in IT as a support engineer, and a lot of that is now handled by AI. Whereas, a year ago, 2 years ago, very few people had even heard of AI.
Yes.
Whereas
that's true.
now it's pretty much everywhere. So yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Not necessarily do a AI focused degree, but one that incorporates AI basic knowledge and usage.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, we've had a few people mention about the the accessibility being key features. A couple of people have said, thank you for doing that, and that they love to see it. So it's always great. I think we've got time for one more question. This is one that I thought of while you were talking. How have you found the shift to 3D graphics for VR?
How I found the shift?
Yeah, how have you found changing 2D graphics to 3D graphics specifically for VR? Has it been
You can
relatively
like
simple, or has it been really complicated?
it's challenging because like when I generate, I have like my I started with 2D. Like my games were 2D, 100% 2D, characters 2D, simple animation, and the backgrounds are 2D. But I tried several AI tools to generate from 2D to 3D, and I'm not a 3D guy at all. Like it's like new to me. And but I tried to generate from 2D to 3D. There are basic fundamentals that you need. Like you need the character in high resolution 2D image.
Yeah.
Like it will give you the best results, and it should be symmetric A pose, like the hands to the sides.
Yeah.
And it often struggled with hands. The main challenge, it was challenging, but it's evolving. I see, but it's slowly evolving. It's not like fast. The main challenge is that make the generation tool to generate the same character and not change it, because if it like changes like eye color or face expression, it will be like totally not different character that the AI created. Like based on your input, it created another like close, but it is it is another character. And the main challenge is stay within, like have your own character that you have,
Yeah.
just generate it 100% close, but it will be 3D.
Yeah.
It's the main challenge, and the second challenge is like quality, because some part like sometimes it struggles like with hair, hands, fingers, things like
Yeah.
that.
No, that's cool. So let me just do that. There we go. So thank you very much, Anatoly. It's
Thank you.
been an absolute pleasure. If anyone has any further questions, you can reach out through our Discord, discord.gg/indie game business. I believe, Anatoly, you'll be available
Yes.
after this to answer any questions.
Yes, I will be.
Awesome. So coming up next, we have our very own Heather, and she is going to be talking about production first aid. So be sure to catch that. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Bye, everyone.